Can I show you the art that I hate the most? People who don't have the personality or creativity to express themselves will latch onto something that looks cool, but that doesn't say anything. But yeah, so this is the kind of thing that looks cool, that doesn't require personality or creativity or any work, right? It's just the kind of thing that you can just do. And B says, what do you think of the idea that you must first be able to paint like Da Vinci before you can paint like Picasso? I don't like that idea at all. Thank you for the question though, and B. No, I don't like that idea at all. I believe in the kind of artist who doesn't know how to draw and who doesn't know how to paint and who has an idea that they want to communicate so much that they start painting and it doesn't look good. It doesn't look great. It can even look terrible. But the idea of painting it, or, you know, the process of painting it is genuine, you know, in its communication of an idea. Now, I don't think you necessarily need the technical proficiency to do it. Unless you have like a very specific way you want to paint or to draw, you know, that it's very focused and it's already in your head and you want to, you know, transform whatever idea you have in your head and put it on paper, then I can see how you'd like to hone in your like dexterity and your technical skills, right? But if to you your conception of art is not necessarily in its final result, but in its process, as it is for me, then it's completely different. NB says, I do think you need to master painting, but I think you need to understand the fundamentals, have a strong foundation, understanding of art history. Yeah, art history I think is important for sure. I remember having that debate. Someone say, I don't want to know anything about art history to not be corrupted by the knowledge of art history, because I want to go in, do art as a blank slate. But no, I do think an understanding of art history can be valuable. I think, for example, I hope that the last video I made on appropriation, thievery, stealing, and, you know, appropriating stuff from past artists is going to motivate people, you know, to do their own things and, you know, use that as an inspiration, appropriate their own stuff. Now, I think that can only be enabled by a good understanding of art history. And Connor Core, yeah, Connor Core says, I kind of see art as an unbroken chain of inspiration going all the way back to Lascaux. Yeah, absolutely. It's important to know those roots and to know what you can take from, and to not repeat. Like, that's the worst part. Like, repeat the same thing. Well, okay, two things. People who don't want to know about art history or who underestimate art history as artists can fall in two traps. The first one is the trap of making something that's already been done, which is a trap that a lot of people who do abstraction fall into. And it doesn't mean that because it's already been done, it's worthless, but it runs the risk of being extremely boring. And the second trap that you can fall into is the trap of thinking that you are like an ahistorical being. An ahistorical being. The kind of art, by thinking you don't need to know about art history or anything, you don't acknowledge your place in history, in the sense that, you know, you think that you're ahistorical and then you do some abstract painting. But the very fact that you're doing abstract painting shows that you're still a part of that history and you're just ignoring it or being ignorant of it. Had you been born 100 years ago, now like maybe 200, abstract painting wouldn't have been something you would have done. And you have to understand your place in history as an artist, because even if you don't want it to influence you, and maybe that's one of the reasons why you're not looking into art history, but even though you might think you're not influenced by anything, you are. Because again, 200 years ago, it would have been impossible for you to, not impossible, but, you know, very unlikely that you would pioneer abstraction. You know, it's impossible to not be inspired or not to be influenced with your art. All right, I'm not going to be influenced by art history because I want to be very original or whatever. But meanwhile, you're influenced by all the art you see on Instagram, all the ads that you see on television, all the art that you see on Netflix or whatever, on Netflix shows. It's unescapable. And the idea that, you know, you want to be completely original and uncorrupted, and that the way you're going to achieve that is by just not looking at history, is just going to confine you to your current influences. So instead of actually, I'm rambling here, but instead of actually being more original by not being corrupted by art history, what's happening is that you're becoming just more unoriginal by only keeping your current like influences, the ones that surround you, like keeping those as your only influence. You will always be influenced. That's my point. Always be under the influence when you make art. Art history just broadens these influences. It doesn't narrow them down. Milovan M says, what books do you recommend for someone interested in history of art? None. Watch my videos. Watch all my videos. Binge watch them. But actually, what I would do, and it's something that I've recommended before, if you absolutely want books, read books about specific art movements or even specific artists, and start from there. And by reading a book on a specific artist or about a specific art movement, you will be pointed towards other artists or other art movements that have influenced these artists, and you can start branching out from there. Because I don't know, I haven't had much luck in reading art history completely in one book, because it's such a broad topic. Like just Wikipedia, right? Let's say we start with Roy Lichtenstein. And then we read about Roy Lichtenstein. Interesting. And sometimes there's even images. Look at that. You don't have to read everything. And then, you know, at one point, you'll be reading, like, let's see here. Oh, Andy Warhol, Jasper Johns, James Rosenquist. All right. Oh, there's even like some paintings. All right, pop artist. Yeah, let's go with pop art, right? Mass culture, advertising, comic books. Okay, cool. Then pop art is widely interpreted as a reaction to the then dominant ideas of abstract expressionism. Abstract expressionism had dominant ideas in the United States. Let's look at that. Then you read all this, and it's really short, and you're already getting a lot of things. And then I've heard Jackson Pollock before, or surrealism. Isn't that what Dali did? It's not as cool. Of course, it's not as cool as a book. A lot more information, and you're a lot more free to explore whatever you want at a click of a button. I think that's that's the best way, at least to me, to explore history of art. It's going to be super. In French, we say décousu. It won't have like a through line. You won't be directed. I think that's a good thing. Go wherever you want. Explore. If something is not that interesting, go back. You might even find like artists that you love that not that many people know, and then you'll be cool. You know, you might not be as cool for not reading a book, but you'll be even cooler for knowing names of artists that nobody else knows. And B says, I did abstract art events, and my wife and I developed a strong relationship with someone who wanted to be an abstract artist. We tried to reach her some art history and fundamentals, but she couldn't care. I imagine. Can I show you the art that I hate the most? I don't know how to call it. It's abstract art. It's probably 100% chance that one of the like 60 people in chat right now does that kind of art. And I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. Fuck you, your art sucks. No, I'm sorry. Your art doesn't suck. I just don't like it. I find it boring and talentless and and overdone. I'm just playing. I'm having fun. I don't care that much about your art. I don't know how to call it. And if that's you in chat, if you are brave enough, say that it's you. It's okay. All right, ready? These. What I'm thinking about is like this kind of stuff. Maybe some of you think it's cool. Or this kind of stuff. Or this kind of stuff. Molly's artistry. I'm sorry, Molly's artistry. Yes, pouring. There you go. Holy shit, do I not care about this? Am I being mean? Like, it looks fun and very satisfying to do, okay? I will not take that away from you if you do this. But what are you doing? Is it just to like be a cool painting on your wall? Or like to spruce up a restaurant? Or in that case, maybe fine, you know? You're just using it as decorative. All right, we need something yellow to put on the wall because we have yellow couches. We need them to match. What are you saying? As an artist, what are you saying with this? With what kind of with what kind of arrogance do you put that painting on the wall and hope for me to give it attention? Okay, Real the Griffin says, okay, Canvas, just drag us like that. I've been very mean to you today. I'm sorry. It's to make sure that we don't develop a parasocial relationship. All right, Arias Alfredo Louis agrees with me. High saturation drip painting is so childish and boring. All right, there you go. All right, let's go. Let's get them in chat. Let's get the hot takes. Yeah, there you go. All right, Anby says that type of art is a fun technique and worth learning as a skill, but it's more of a craft than anything. Yeah, there you go. All right, that I can agree with. Knuckles says I used to do that as a kid, coloring my by the number. See, color by number is not like amazing. It can be fun to make. I think that's a great way of summarizing a lot of people's art. Is saying like, yeah, it's like coloring by number, right? It's fun. It can be therapeutic. It can be very relaxing. It can even be beautiful in the right context. But it doesn't mean much, does it? Yeah, Emre says, I think it's cool if it's like a background for something. It could be in the right context for sure. I'm not putting that. Yeah. Tiltic says, I definitely get the appeal of it. It's pretty and nice to hang on your wall, but it doesn't really influence me at all. Yeah, like I said, yeah, I agree. It's pretty and it can be nice to hang on your wall. And the reason for that is like it's decorative, right? It's the same kind of pretty that like I showed like Asger Jorn's paintings, right? Disquieting Duckling. And like the painting without the duck is pretty, right? I think take away the duck. It's still a nice, it's a pretty image, right? You put it on your wall, it's like, it gives like a little cozy influence, you know, as decoration. But you tell me, all right, would you like to meet the artist who made this? I'd be like, I don't give a fuck. I'm sure the person's a nice person, right? And they love what they do, but like, this is not personality. It's same thing for here. There's no personality in this. But the duck has personality. It's not nice, but it's creative at the very least. Roman and Vaughan Williams says, why has this emerged now? What is the context? For if you're talking about this, I think that the DIY kind of trend online helps this. Materials are cheaper than ever, and you know, people who want to do art but don't have any personality or creativity to express themselves will latch on. I'm being really mean for no reasons, just for entertainment. All right, I don't actually care. I promise. This is for entertainment. But as I was saying, people who don't have the personality or creativity to express themselves will latch onto something that looks cool, but that doesn't say anything. But yeah, so this is the kind of thing that looks cool, that doesn't require personality or creativity or any work, right? It's just the kind of thing that you can just do. And for people who that haven't cultivated, like an artistic purpose, let's use it like that. They can go to that kind of that painting and, fulfill the kind of creative urge that tickles them. So they have this creative urge in their empty soul, and they think that by doing that kind of stuff, it will make their soul more full, and they'll be more happy. But turns out maybe they are more happy. Lenore is right. Generally, when I've seen that type of art, it is meant as a consumer product. Absolutely. Again, as a decor painting. And people feel like, if you want to make art for yourself or as a decor painting, right? Look at abstract expressionists and do what they did. And already you'll do something so much more interesting. And I feel like it can help, right? Let me show you. Here's a little hot tip. Anyway, the tip is, you want to make art for yourself or as decor or just to like learn to express yourself. Don't go to this type of thing, right? To this it's like a recipe. Yeah, this recipe type art. And just follow the recipe, and then you'll have bake for 20 minutes and you have an art. I've made an art, and then you put it on the wall. Just write abstract expressionist, all right? It's not much, but to me, I feel like it's already the right way. Like I've already said, I find this, like, I like Pollock, right? But if you make a Pollock today, it's kind of boring. I would probably skip these. But for example, look at these. I feel like working on a composition solely, and it can be like, you're probably the kind of type of person who says, I can probably do that. Well, do it, right? Just do it, as we've said earlier. That kind of stuff. And even if it's ugly, that's an artist I really like. I forget his name. In my head, it's France. Like Franz. It's Franz Klein. There you go. I've told my brother. My brother bought a canvas. My brother's not an artsy type. Not at all. And he was like, oh, I'm looking for I'd like to buy like a work of art, probably from Amazon or something. And I was like, just do it yourself. You'll be more proud of yourself and you'll be happy with it. And I showed him Franz Klein, and he really liked Franz Klein. He's like, yeah, I can probably try to do that. And you make it pretty big, and of course it's going to look like it's official if it's big, right? Do that. And you're going to learn to actually have to look at different Franz Klein paintings. Don't necessarily replicate them, but see, all right, what's cool about a Franz Klein painting? Then you look into them. All right, there's a lot of diagonal lines. Some have vertical lines. Sometimes there's like splotches. Sometimes the lines are not like full. Sometimes they're very dark. Sometimes you see the brush stroke. Blah blah blah. Just by doing that exercise, not only are you going to be making art that is more less recipe kind of, because like you're trying to figure out someone else's thing, you might be more proud of it because it actually required labor instead of just a recipe. And you can do that for many different ones. Clifford Still is also a cool one that I just saw. Is that Clifford Still? This is Clifford Still. And then eventually, maybe you'll be able to develop your own style. But abstract expressionism is the kind of thing that, you can dabble in pretty easily. And a lot of people find it cool. Again, if you show that to me today, and I'll be like, all right, that's just a Franz Klein, right? But it's such a better way to start or to express yourself if you're going to look into expressing yourself than doing that, than doing this, than just looking at the paint go bloop bloop. Because that's what you're doing. You're looking at the paint going bloop bloop. Oh, Naro's in chat. What's up? What we stealing? What we stealing right now is the dignity of artists who make drip paintings. Or not drip paintings, but pour paintings. Who pour the acrylic. That's what we're stealing. We're stealing their dignity, hopes, and dreams. Seeing art as meditation is a completely different thing. Seeing the paint go bloop bloop is meditative. And like we can look at ASMR for the next hour of acrylic paint mixing together on a canvas, and we'll all be very relaxed and happy. Personally, from art, I'm not looking to be relaxed and happy. Liz B says, literally shooting the canvas makes a better artwork than poor painting. I agree with that. Nero says, a large part of why people are scared to get into art is due to people fetishizing art and artistry. The bourgeois romanticization of it being a talent and not a skill for expression to be learned. Yeah, I know. The whole idea, the idea that it takes, it's like an innate talent. Oh, Picasso started drawing at the age of 2 years old. That kind of idea. And that it takes like some kind of innate talent. The whole idea that some artists are more popular than others, I believe it's a social construct. They're popular for some reason, and it's not because they're aesthetically superior, right? Most of them are popular because they influenced a lot of people. So they're popular because they're popular in a way, right? One of the reasons why Picasso is so popular is because he's influenced a lot of art history. But he influenced a lot of art history because he was popular. Not to say that he's a bad artist, but I believe it could have been other people. Many other people. Not Nandalov says, what contemporary artists do you like? Am I about to do the local artists are the only artists that you can like? Not the only artist that you can like, but personally, I've said that before. Now I'll make it short for you. Artists that I like are artists that will speak to your context and different perspectives that affect you in your specific context in a way. For example, the artists I like are artists who are either from Quebec or even from my own very local area. And why? It's because I can actually identify with them and identify with the subjects that they make, and they can show me a different way of looking at these through their own personal experiences, dealing within the same context as me, in a way. That's where I find that their perspective can bring the most to me, a perspective in the same kind of context, but through a different lens. And that's what an artist, at least to me, should do. Now, you can also be confronted with like experiences and stories and ideas that come from other countries and other situations from outside of your own little part, I guess. But I think what will make you like them is, it might be their art, but I think it'll be more like the experience that they're relaying and less the artist themselves, if that makes sense. So for example, someone from another country makes art specific to their country, and you find that very rewarding, because not only are you learning about the situation in that country, but the experience of that person within that country, and they're relaying all these very complicated topics through art. That's a very, very strong connection that you can have with an artwork. But it's not one that can be replicated very often, I believe. Maybe it can if it really speaks to you. But let's say it's the situation in South Africa, right? It might be very, very telling to you, and you might be very, it might like strike you, the art from this South African artist. But I don't think, after seeing art from South Africa, not living in South Africa, after like 30 times, it might not be as striking to you. Though art from your community that you see maybe 30 times will still strike to you because it immediately impacts you, and it impacts not only your relationship to the artist that you can have more easily because they live in your community, but also your relationship to your community itself by having these debates provoked by artists, by being able to see how other people live and experience your own community. I'll give you one example. Show and tell, people. All right, I'll leave you with my my statue of Saint Dominic. All right. All right. All right. So an artist I really like is his name is Antoine Larocque. He's from Quebec, and he published Notes d'atelier, which is notes that he took during his in his art studio as he was doing art. And a lot of them, this is what it looks like. And it's hundreds of pages, hundreds of notes from his studio. And a lot of them are very, very angry, which I personally love. And all of them start their own discourse about, especially about art and about the art world in Quebec and how it's going on. Like, for example, here, l'époque des rails puis les artistes Google how to get more likes on Instagram. I had my French accent in English there. Les artistes Google how to get more likes on Instagram. And that's only one thing, and it says our epoch is going to shit, and artists are Googling how to get more likes on Instagram. And that's the kind of thing that talks to me. All right. No, like here. T'es pas une galerie d'art, t'es la cour à scrap de l'art keb. You know what? I'm not even gonna translate. Yeah, pastel. Thank you, Gabriel. I'm not gonna translate what I just said because you motherfuckers don't care about French anyway. It's Antoine Larocque. Notes d'atelier. Not Nandilov says, that was a beautiful answer, so thank you. So then, do you believe in the idea of art as a commodity? Do you believe in the present day relationship between artist, art, and the collector? No, I don't. It sucks that it has to be that way, because or else artists can't have a job. So it kind of has to be that way. I think the idea that artists need to sell kind of makes them do this and this. Oops. This. But it makes them do this, which sucks. So no, I don't think it's a good thing. I do believe in it because I think it's a thing that happens, but I don't believe that's it's a good thing. I think the relationship between artist, art, and the collector is I think the idea of the collector kind of sucks as well. Fuck the collector. There's a heavy class bias in art collection in general. If rich people are the people who decides which artist can live and which artist has to work at a cafe or whatever, or not live but live from their art, there's a selection process that is heavily, not to say unfair, but at least unrepresentative of what the people want, right? There is a class element, like a class filter to art, when collectors are the ones who enable artists to live from their art or not. Why do you guys want to burn my Discord server down? Another one here, the one right next to it. Ouais, ça a vraiment pas l'air facile de faire de l'art en dehors de l'université. Yeah, it doesn't really look easy to make art outside of university. So, a lot of anger, a lot of cynicism about the status of and the conditions of artists outside of the let's say the pre-established or the safe place for artists in society, which is either as a student or as an employee of culture, as he says. Arias Alfredo Luis says, Quebec French is so weird. Oh my God, I love it. Don't exoticize me. Don't exoticize my accent. Are you from France? Don't colonize my accent either. And Giant Trenton says, Gian Trenton says, could collectors be replaced by museums? Another way, make art much more accessible to the public. In some ways, that already happens. Let's say in the best of worlds, art is not filtered through the classes, through a class who decides which artist can live off their art or not. Yes, it would make art accessible to the public, and that could be very cool. I still don't like the idea of it. Still puts artists on a pedestal as like, all right, this is a great artist. And I don't really believe in great artists and in great art. I think it's just hype. I think it's just hype. The reason why you're all happy to see like an artist that's really well known is because they're hyped. Meanwhile, you might get more out of. I think that's it. You give more charity to an artist who's known or that a lot of people know their name than you do to your local artist. You give more charity, and because of that, you appreciate their art more. And I think that's for anyone. That's my hot take. You've probably seen this video. My mom shared that video recently with me. The idea, like, there's this violinist that goes in a subway. Nobody watches. Nobody stops. Some people give him a little bit of money to help him out and to treat himself with something. But this man, the same night, goes to I don't know, like a concert hall and plays in front of thousands of people who all paid $200 to $500 per ticket or something like that. Nobody cares about you if you're not hyped up by people in power. And those people in power can be the bourgeoisie who pays for your art for for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, or it could be the museums who have that power and give you that kind of pedestal that allow people to give you more charity. And I think that's applicable to music as well. Mojo666 says, "Why don't you like the Mona Lisa?" Remember when I talked about a lot of art just being liked because it's overhyped? That hype is what determines a lot of people's relationships or appreciation of art. Mona Lisa is the perfect example of that. It's a hype circle, as Gabriel de Griffin says. And it's not just applicable to the Mona Lisa. She's not a special case. A lot of the art that you appreciate yourself is because it's hyped. A lot of the art I feature on my channel is because it's hyped. A lot of the artists, a lot of very good artists who who make you engage with their art just as much as any other artists who are professional or popular, die unknown. Yes, Lenore. Lenore says, hasn't this always been the case though? Has the elites class always been the deciding factor for what is and isn't considered high art? Not just high art or just art at all. As long as you live in a hierarchical society, art will very often answer to the people at the top of the hierarchy. It was the case during the Renaissance with patrons. It was the case during the Middle Ages, where most paintings were religious. Middle Ages was before the Renaissance, but you get the gist of it. It was the case for a lot of things, a lot of epochs and eras. Even in authoritarian communist societies, art was made for the hierarchy. Birth the Dude. Hello, Birth the Dude. First time I see you in chat. Says, why can't AI art surpass man-made AI? Is it because of the authenticity? I've talked about it a couple of times on stream, and like, I don't want to bore people with by always saying the same answer all the time. But I don't think AI art can surpass man-made art, because I think art is about communicating ideas and experiences that are unique to the person making that art. And maybe an AI can bullshit, you know, that experience or that idea, and maybe we'll never know. But the moment we know that this experience is bullshit, of course it's going to lose its value, because it's an experience. It's communicating something that someone else lived, and it's like if I make art that talks about my experience as someone who lived in an Orthodox Jewish family, and I make art about that, and then you look at that art, and then you learn that I was bullshitting. I never lived in an Orthodox Jewish family. Then the art that I showed loses its value. It might be subversive, and it might talk about, oh, you know, this is probably bullshit, right? Or like the whole idea of deceiving and the trust that we have in artists and stuff like that. But the art is going to lose its value, or its value is going to be shifted at the very least. And that's because my conception of art is about communicating ideas and experiences that are, you know, that can't, like, that maybe could be communicated through, like, you know, words or other mediums, but art is one that can communicate a very nuanced and complex idea, and try to do it through, you know, through ways that, you know, not through words, which it's like another way of communicating your experiences and ideas that perhaps can help the viewer understand better.